Our first full year with Istra has come to an end, and I'm very pleased to say it's gone a lot better than last season. Let's have a look. Hello and welcome back to another On The Med update with me, DeeBoiPlays. Welcome in. You look lovely today. And yes, as we can see right there, our boys, Istra 1961, we managed to finish second this year. Quite an achievement, I would say, considering how badly we looked last year. This is a bit of a coup, but it wasn't plain sailing the whole way through. There were moments this year that we actually looked like we were going to finish first. Let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So as you can see above me, this is our league position throughout the season, and you can see there were a few little spots throughout things where we were actually sitting in first. We were quite comfortably top 3 the whole time. That wasn't a problem, but you know, second game in, fine, we went up to top spot. Then we fell back down again, went back up to top spot. Pretty much every kind of... It's the way we've been streaming it in Croatia. We've kind of done it in the 9-game chunks that it is, because you play 36 games. So we do, you know, the groups of 9. And every time we did it, we'd sort of get through so far. Then, okay, last game there, we went back down to second. Fine, not the end of the world, but, you know, it would happen. Then the next load, we'd be back down in second, holding on to it. Back down in second, and then just stayed second the whole time. But second is a hell of an achievement with these boys. Again, like I say, if you could remember what happened with us last year, we finished 8th. After the improvements we thought we'd made, we only managed to finish 8th, which wasn't great. We did stick with the tactic that we ended with, though, and I will say that our 4-2-4 worked really, really nicely this year. This 4-2-4 right here, which was named very, very nicely on stream, tremendous in transition, which is what it was. It was really, really good. We'd get the ball, we'd move forward, we'd get goals. It was brilliant. We did suffer against a few of the teams, one team in particular. My God, do I hate Osijek. But in general, this worked really, really well. Let me show you the best 11 that we have, and then we'll talk through the team that we actually sort of had. This doesn't actually do any justice, because I realised at the end of this, I've actually released a couple of players that aren't there anymore, and one of them definitely should be. This man here, Bruno Petkovic. Now, myself and Zigarath, man who makes all the beautiful kits, wonderful streamer, you should definitely go and check him out. At the end of last year, he said, look, send me the save file. We'll both scout some players together. We'll go through it and we'll sort the team out. So he basically took care of the front. I took care of the back. And he noticed that Bruno Petkovic's contract at Sassuolo was running out. And they needed to get rid of players. They were struggling financially. So we thought, you know what? Let's just give it a go. Like, he's played in this league before. He's a really, really solid player. Very, very consistent performer for us. We brought him in. And if we ever look at his stats for the year, I'm really, really pleased for that. For a man that, you know, essentially this is his last year of football. He was retiring, hence why we released him. But 34 appearances, 11 goals, 8 assists, and an average rating of 7.24. For a man of that age, that is pretty darn impressive. And his link-up work with our main man, Erin Greatleak, absolutely beautiful to see. If we look at how he managed to get on this season, 14 goals, 3 assists in the league. Didn't get as high a rating, interestingly, but he did have a couple of long-term injuries, which ruled him out for a few games. But in general, those two together, absolutely lethal combination. Couldn't have asked for a better strike pair. So yeah, looking at this team, you can see the wingers and the fullbacks, they linked up really, really nicely. This chap here, David Susic, beautiful Bosnian new gen that we got through the game. Looks really, really solid. Still 21 years old, so he's got a lot of development to go through. But he performed absolutely fantastically for us all season. Who else were notable players? I really enjoyed the work of Mr. Cella. We also had Wes Feeling More Taste. Holding down, I believe he was going on the right wing for us quite a lot of this season, and he did little spots on the left wing, but he played fantastically. And I believe he is actually a real player, so if you do want to check him out, his actual name is Luka Stojkovic, and he plays for Dinamo, so could be a good one to look into. The dream pairing in the middle that we had, though, Lewis Bate and Nico Rack, those two, really, really solid pairing. They don't have a line between them, annoyingly. I think that's just because I had to rotate quite a lot, but they were a really, really good pair for us. Lewis was an absolutely beautiful deep line playmaker. So again, if you're in, I would say, a top tier championship team, he'd be a really, really solid player to bring in, especially a few years into the save. I'm kind of amazed he actually joined us. It was a little bit of a lucky signing there. There was one other player that we were able to bring in, though. And it is another man that we released, Mateo Kovacic. And this one was kind of interesting because Dinamo released him at the end of last year. And as soon as I noticed that he was available, I thought, we have no team leaders. This man would walk into a team leader role and would help out with the motivation of the team. Might not get the minutes, because as you can see, his physicals were not great. But, you know, he's a solid passer of the ball. The mentals are still absolutely fantastic. He'd be a great addition to the team. And he really was. He didn't actually play that many times for us. I think we picked him up second half of the season. You might think not the greatest rating, but I think his presence... They talk a lot. You talk about, like, people talk like the England camp taking certain players to with the team because of their presence around the players. I think Kovacic was a little bit of that. I don't know if the game goes that deep, but in my head, it definitely does. And I think having him there as a team leader, he's had an incredible career. Look at the squads that he's been part of. You know, he's played for City, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and of course Dinamo Zagreb. Wonderful, wonderful career. So having someone like him in the squad, I feel like it benefited the team. Looking at our form for the season, it was really decent. There were a couple of teams that did get the better of us, as we were expecting them to. You know, we weren't a perfect squad, but, you know, we had some pretty big wins. We beat Dinamo Zagreb quite early on. The first two games actually set us on a little bit of a momentous run, beating Lokomotiv 4-0, getting some good wins in the cup. We could not beat Osijek in the league to save our lives. They were ruining my season, and I was furious at them. They've become one of the FM teams that I have a deep hatred for. And yeah, as things went on, just really, really good results across the board. And the eagle-eyed of you might notice that our cup run lasted throughout the season because we won the domestic cup. We won the Supersport Hrvatski Nogometni Cup. We played Hajduk Split. Interestingly, the final to this in Croatia is 2 legs, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I think chat knew, as they might have already realised that this was going to be a case. I hadn't noticed, but like I say, bit of a surprise to me. We did lose 1-0 at their place, which was, you know, a little bit disappointing, but I thought, you know what, losing 1-0 away on the road, not that bad. And 1-0 as well. We could definitely overturn Hajduk Split in the return leg if we, you know, bring our A game. And boy, did we bring our A game. We beat them 4-0 when they came to our stadium. Beautiful moment, winning the whole thing. Couldn't have asked for a better sign-off. And I do mean sign-off. As you probably gathered from the videos that we've done based on our time in Croatia with Istra, it's been a very, very laboured team for me to want to be working with. When we first took the job, it seemed like a really interesting challenge, and I loved that first half season that we had. We picked up some really, really important wins. We got some fantastic momentum, and I really enjoyed our time managing them. Last year, though, really just killed the motivation. It made me so miserable managing this team, and I know you might be thinking, well, hang on now. You've just had a really, really successful season with them and you just won the cup. Why wouldn't you want to stick around? And ultimately, it's just because I kind of want to distance myself from Istra. We did our job, right? We saved them from relegation. We managed to get them into Europe, and we did manage to win something here. An argument could be made, sure, if we'd stayed 1 more year, maybe 2 more years, we could have easily, you know, signed a few better players, maybe gone on to win the league, maybe gone on to win the Super Cup. But like I say, I was kind of finished with Istra. So we went a little bit job hunting, and there were some very interesting teams on this list. This is the list of teams that are available. Now, you don't have access to the massive list of squads that we could potentially manage, but based off the list that we had here, there were a couple that kind of interested me. One was this Italian team here, Carraresi. They play in the Serie C, Girona B. Now, if you watched my Going Pro series last year, we spent a little bit of time managing in the Serie C, because we managed Pro Vercelli, but they were, I believe, in the Group A of that, and these are in Group B, so, oh cool, it's a league I've not managed in. I've managed at this level, though. And I was thinking, this could be a really fun one to do. I feel like if we got this job, we could try and get them promoted from Serie C, get into Serie B, and then again, it's kind of one of those ones where I'd maybe think, okay, cool, now we can just move away from Italy. Don't have to worry about things. But I thought on it a little bit more, and as much as it would have been fun, I kind of want to avoid France, Spain, and Italy. I've said this on stream a few times, and I may have said it in a video already, but those 3 countries, they feel like, in terms of their stance in, you know, world football, they're 3 of the bigger leagues. So I kind of want to save them towards the end. Obviously, once we've managed in the remaining 2 other leagues, which are Turkey and Greece, of course, we'll go and get a job there. And it doesn't mean we're going to go for one at the highest level. We might go for a Serie C or even, like a second tier of Spain or something like that. But for the time being, I was like, no, let's just stay away from them. We can save them for a little bit. We're not in a rush to get to those countries, let's say. There's a few teams in and around those 3 countries that I'm kind of holding off for the job to appear, but once it does, hopefully we can get it. So we decided against Caradesi. Absolutely fine. The only other teams on this list that we could have gone to were Turkish teams, though, because none of those French teams are on the coast, annoyingly. The remaining Italian teams are, those Spanish teams, none of those are ticking a box, and Turkey was the only other place that had anything available. There were some insecure jobs around the world. I think if we look in Greece... No, sorry, complete opposite. Greece had no insecure jobs. I was really hoping that there was going to be a like OFI Crete, because we looked at them before. That was kind of an interesting one. If that had been available, maybe we would have gone there this time. But unfortunately, there wasn't. And like I say, we had a little look in Greece, and there were a few teams that we could have been. But the ones that stood out to me were Göztepe and Tuzlaspor. Göztepe, for a kind of, maybe an obvious reason, they've just got relegated from the top tier. And I feel like they'd be one of those teams that we'd get relegated, we'd have to sell a handful of people that are unhappy about getting relegated, and then, use that money, reinvest, bring in some good players. There'd probably be a wealth of people that would happily stay and just bounce back. And then it'd be like, cool, we won the second tier of Turkey, let's move on. Fine. And I really like their stadium as well, when you can see that in there. It just looks so kind of weird, but beautiful in some sort of... It looks a little bit like... What are those cakes? Is it a French fancy? They look a bit like one of them. It's weird. And the other team we were looking at was this one here, Tuzlaspor, who finished 20th in the second tier of Turkey, which is, as you can probably imagine, rock bottom. So they're getting relegated, and yeah, they're in a little bit of debt, but there was a bit of me that was like, you know what? Tuzlaspor could be the one. This could be a really, really interesting project. Again, it's a little bit like taking over Istra, but we've gone down. And again, I suppose it's a little bit similar to the Göztepe theory. They've just got relegated. Arguably, we could bounce straight back up. And they have done it fairly recently. You can see that they won it in 2028, which, only a couple of seasons back. So there's an argument to be made that they could easily do it again. So we decided to go to Turkey, and we decided to put our name in the hat for the Tuzlaspor job. And, well, we got it. We got the job at Tuzlaspor. Took a little bit of time, I will say this. You saw on the last save, if you're noticing all the details, said the 1st of June. It took 24 days for this move to happen. We applied, it took ages for the interview to come in, and I kept thinking, oh, they're just not going to come in for us. Happened with Göztepe as well. We did apply for both of them, as like Göztepe was a bit of a backup if we didn't get this job. They both took forever to get back. Eventually, Tuzlaspor offered us an interview. We went in. They offered us our contract, and we were kind of like, okay, let's just hang off, see if Göztepe come in for us. They didn't, so Tuzlaspor won. Well done, Tuzlaspor. One extra thing I do enjoy about this team, they're playing blue and white stripes. I'm an Albion fan. Of course I'm going to go to the team of blue and white stripes. Let's go. And this is kind of the state that this is the state I find the team in right now, okay? So you look at those star ratings, there's not a wealth of talent in this squad. There's a few players that I feel like could be decent, but they want to leave because we've been relegated. There's a few people whose contracts are running out, so we'll see where that leaves us. And one really, really important thing that we have to bear in mind in this league is that we're only allowed to sign Turkish players. It's going to be difficult, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's where we find ourselves, though. We're in country number 4 with club number 4, Tuzlaspor in Turkey. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be as equally challenging as life in Croatia, but I have no doubt that it's going to be loads of fun. And if you want to join in that fun, you got to do one of two things. One, either like and subscribe and come and hang out with me over here, or head over to twitch.tv/DeeBoiPlays and come and watch it live. You can come and hang out. You can see how we get on with things. And yeah, hopefully we get them promoted first time. Who knows? Anyway, look after yourselves. I'll see you in the next one. Laters.